Have you ever thought to yourself, it seems like we don't trust each other? I'm Rob Price, and I'm here to describe the relationship between trust and sound money. Look around and tell me, do you trust? Maybe you trust your family, your friends, your colleagues, but do you trust people in society? And the way I see it, trust in government is a characterization or articulation of this social trust. And if you look at the data, trust in the US government has dropped substantially over the last few years. And if you look at the protests around the world, these suggest to me that it's not just a US trend, it's a global trend, a trust deficit that we are dealing with in the 2020s. So getting onto the sound money component of this description, money is half of every transaction in society, impacting every interaction. And currently, we live in an unsound monetary system, meaning that it's defective and untrustworthy. Politicians lower interest rates, expand the budget, raise debt levels, and bail out their favorite companies whenever they like, without considering what the consequences are. But that wasn't always the case. Prior to 1971, the global monetary system was linked to commodities, and commodities constrain governments' ability to loosen monetary and fiscal policy because they're difficult and costly produced. You have to actually account for the cost of creating that commodity. Throughout history, markets gravitated towards gold as the commodity of choice for monetary linkages. Now, there's nothing magical about gold. It's just scarce, difficult to produce, doesn't erode, and doesn't corrode. And it's got network effects of people using it for thousands of years. And sometimes when people think about gold, they think about old men under green lights counting their gold coins. But gold is precious for a reason. It's not a mystical story. We don't use gold to make goods that we use in daily life, like computers and cars. Gold's scarcity implies that it doesn't make sense to use in those type of transactions. Rather than consume it, we store value in it, knowing that it'll hold value over time. And this relationship is easy to see when you look at the stock to flow ratio. We don't consume gold, so the stock is large relative to new supply. All other commodities are consumed. We eat grain, corn, we consume copper, and we burn oil. So their stock is low relative to flow. And we don't store these commodities because it's expensive. They take up space and some of them perish. And hopefully now you can understand why gold is very different. It plays a different role to what I would call, in converted commas, useful commodities. Gold is not useful for those daily transactions because it's too precious. It's useful as a store of value. And using gold as money made politicians honest and gave a trustworthiness to the financial system because politicians couldn't just do what they want with money whenever they wanted to. You cannot just make lots of new gold if you want. You've got to go through the process of creating it. And that is challenging. It takes time. So there were immediate consequences to governments if they wanted to have budget deficits, lower interest rates, and this required strategic planning and foresight. If they wanted to take part in those policies, they could still do so, but they needed to have planned in advance and accounted for the consequences. So hopefully now you're starting to understand some of these relationships between unsound money and societal ills, which has obviously been the topic of both this video and the other videos within this video series. It's also reasonably obvious now that there's numerous economic variables that have deteriorated since the US left the gold standard in 1971. Things like higher debt, more wealth and income inequality, weaker economic growth, and less trust within society because the monetary and financial system has been based on less integrity. We as society need to find ways to introduce more monetary soundness in order to solve these societal ills. I'm not saying that unsound money is the only cause, but it's a key cause, and hopefully you're starting to understand these relationships. And the problem is that solving the monetary and financial system is the last thing on politicians' minds. So that's why my conclusion is that sound money is the biggest challenge and opportunity of our lifetime. Challenge because it's causing the societal degeneration that we see, but it's also an opportunity because we get the chance to adopt sound money ourselves through gold and through Bitcoin. I've obviously spoken about gold in this video, but Bitcoin is the digital store of value for the digital age, and it's potentially a superior technology to gold. Regime change takes time, and the future is very uncertain. We don't know how long that's going to take. But communities who adopt sound money take a step towards reality and truth, and take a step away from the insidious consequences of a defective monetary system. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please read the full article, which is in the link below. Send through your questions and watch the related videos where we chat around these themes of sound money, unsound money, the consequences, and how we mitigate against them through proactive solutions.